Welcome back to DaBoot Tragedies. If you haven't heard, I'm sure everyone has heard that's listening to this already. Michael Thomas, the news came out yesterday that he will be out for the season. Injury in week 3 against the Panthers. And now, after a couple weeks of, waiting on news from him, they finally came out yesterday and said he will be out for the season, most likely. He dislocated his toe against the Panthers. They tried to let it heal on its own. They took some x-rays, some scans. They realized it wasn't healing properly the way they wanted it to. So now they're going to resort to surgery on a dislocated toe, which is probably going to put him out for the season. Michael Thomas, he's 29 years old, man. He'll be 30 in March. Obviously, he's a very, very good player when he's on the field, but he hasn't been on the field lately. I'm not blaming Michael Thomas for this because injuries are a part of the game. Like I said yesterday, I know this man wants to play. I know he wants to be out there. He had the ankle injury. Wasn't his fault, but injuries happen, like I said. Then he had this toe injury. Not his fault, but injuries happen, like I said. And I see a lot of people going back and forth on Twitter. Why y'all mad at Michael Thomas? He can't control this. This man wants to play. Fans are dumb, da-da-da-da-da. I don't think the fans are necessarily mad at Michael Thomas. It's the fact that a guy is getting a lot of money and he's not playing. I think you could have inserted any one name right there, and it would be the same result. It's not just a Michael Thomas thing. And we have to just address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is he's making $100 million and he's not playing football. It's simple as that. I don't care if it was Michael Thomas, Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramchick, Demario Davis. If somebody's making $100 million and they're not playing football for whatever reason, it's a problem. It's an issue. Even if it's something they can't control. We can just 2019 when he got this contract after the year he had, which obviously it was fantastic. He had 149 catches, 1,725 yards, and 9 touchdowns in 2019. That is a great year, an MVP caliber year, all-pro year, everything you want to name. But in 2020, that's when that ankle injury came. He only had 40 catches for 438 yards, and he played 7 games. So 1 year into your big contract, you get injured very, very early in the season. Only play a couple games when their ankle's not even 100%. So respect for him for even trying to go back out there. Then 2021, we know we had the whole saga of I don't want to get the surgery. He was kind of beefing with the team. You go, whatever you want to say about it. I don't care who fault it was. Sean Payton's fault, medical staff fault, Sank's fault, Michael Thomas' fault. But it happened. That situation happened, and he played 0 games in 2021. So now you're just on your second year of a $100 million deal that you signed in 2019, 2020, and you've only played 7 games. And now you come to this season, he's played 3 games. And in the first 2 games he had, he was looking absolutely fantastic. But he's only played 3 games this year out of 17, and he's out for the season again. So you're telling me it's been 3 seasons, you've played 10 games. 10 games out of 3 seasons, and you want fans to be happy about that. You don't want fans to be mad about that. Fans have to get realistic. People have to get realistic in the media. People are going to be upset about that. This is going to be a very, very big decision on Michael Thomas. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, but 3 years into this extension, it's not going well for the Saints or Michael Thomas. Like I said, I'm not putting the blame on anyone, but this decision, this upcoming summer, it's going to be a very big one in the Saints camp for Mickey Loomis, Dennis Allen, and that staff. It's going to be a big, big decision because this is going to affect a lot of players. If you want to keep him, you're going to have to restructure some guys, maybe cut some guys. If you cut him, that's also going to affect the roster. Or you're going to go, complete rebuild after that, cut some more older guys. Everything's going to be determined this offseason by what they want to do with Michael Thomas. So that's going to be very, very important to watch. And decisions have to be made. And the Saints have a couple options. None of these options may be, in the best interest of the team, or I wouldn't say the best interest of the team, but none of these options are something you want to, have to do because you just want your guy to be healthy and you want him to be playing. And the first thing you could do, as soon as the season over, you can look for a trade partner with Michael Thomas. You can look for suitors, see who wants him, see if there's some interest out there. Obviously, he's going to be coming off an injury. He's going to have to prove he's healthy to other teams. The cap situation is going to be tricky because the Saints are probably going to have to take some dead money. They may be looking for some cap relief, maybe for a team to take on some of that salary, negotiate that. Picks-wise, I don't know what you can really get from Michael Thomas right now. If he wasn't making so much money, I think you can probably got a second or a third out of him just because he's a very, very good receiver, even though he's been prone to injury these last couple years. With that contract, and if you're expecting the team to take on some of that salary, I just honestly don't think you can get a 4th or a 5th, out of him. I know he's worth more than that in a vacuum when he's healthy, when he's 100%, but that's just not the case. And if you're the Saints, you have to weigh those options. Is that cap relief going to be good enough for you just to take a fourth for Michael Thomas? Or do you just want to wait out another year and just say, I don't need a fourth for that. I would rather him just not play, be injured, and take my chances on him coming back healthy the next season and just plan it out. But a trade is definitely one option. I'm sure it's an option they're going to consider as soon as the season ends. I'm sure they're going to be listening to phone calls, whether they say it or not. I just know that's definitely going to be an option, and it has to be an option if you're, any sensible franchise. You have to pursue that option. The next option, you could pursue. This would be the most dramatic option, option that will probably set fire to Saints world, fire to the NFL world, and that's just an outright release. Maybe you can't find a trade suitable, for Michael Thomas. Maybe you tried other options that hasn't worked. And maybe, you think it's just time to part ways with him. And that would be very, very interesting from the Saints. I believe they will save $16.45 million in cap in 2023 and $13.87 million the next year. So if they want to do that, maybe that's an option, but they're gonna end up with a dead cap around $25 million. So that's a huge number to have on your dead cap, especially with a team that has a high dead cap as it is, because we've did some creative contracts and restructured and did some void years. So the dead cap for the Saints is already enormously high. If you cut Michael Thomas, release him straight up, it's going to get even higher. Yes, you're going to get some cap relief, in the short end, but on the back end, it's going to hurt you. So that's going to be an option they're going to have to consider. I'm sure Mickey Loomis and Kai Harvey, they're going to be crunching the numbers up there to see what they can do, and that's definitely an option that they're going to have to consider as well. And the last option, I think the most realistic option, and the option that both sides are going to have to kind of agree on if this option is going to work, and this is renegotiation. Now, this option right here, this is going to be a big ego check. This is going to be one of those things that you can end the relationship with a player. But, you're talking about a player that earned this money. Now, let's keep one thing clear. He earned this money in 2019. No one put a gun to the Saints' head and said, hey, offer him $100 million. He went out on the football field, and he earned this money. Let's keep that in mind. So, to go to him in renegotiations and say, hey, we would like you to take a pay cut, Michael Thomas, that will be a hard ask for a player, especially a player of Michael Thomas, man. He's very, very prideful, and that's going to be an ego check. No one wants to hear they need to take a pay cut. But the reality of the situation is he's played 10 games in 3 years, and he's on a $100 million deal. So, the Saints have to at least, present that to him. I know it's not going to be a fun conversation. It's not going to be a fun talk, but it's a talk that needs to be had. Maybe he says, hell no, just either cut me or I'm planning on my contract, and that's his right to say. That is his right. I remember the Chiefs went to Tyreek about a renegotiation about his contract, and it wasn't even a pay cut. It was just moving some money around, and he said no. That is the player's right to say absolutely hell no if you're going to tell me renegotiate my contract that both of us signed. So the Saints are going to have to look into these options, trading him, releasing him, renegotiating, getting creative with the cap. Everything's going to have to be considered. I don't know what the answer is. I hope they can come to some type of agreement where it's a renegotiation. I think that's the most sensible answer. I think that's the correct thing to do, from both sides, even though Michael Thomas does not have to do it. I'm going to make that clear. He does not have to renegotiate at all. He can just stand firm, and this is my money. This is what I want to do. And I won't ever be mad at him. But it's going to be it's definitely going to be a decision that the Saints need to consider. They're going to have to weigh all options this summer, and it's going to be a very, very interesting summer, especially depending on how the season goes. Obviously, we got Chris Olave, a couple other young receivers. We don't have a first-round pick, so this offseason is going to be very, very interesting, especially, if the Saints don't make the playoffs, the Saints do make the playoffs, the receiving game picks up, it doesn't pick up. It's a lot of factors going to go into this decision before the decision is even made, so we definitely going to be on the lookout for this decision this offseason, but for now, we got a lot of football left to play, and that's definitely going to be a determining factor in this decision. But let me know what y'all think in the comments below about what we should do with Michael Thomas. As always, this is DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.